All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, actually talking about something non-music related, but certainly within the realm of the entertainment world, and doing so in real time for like 5 real people out there, just like you and just like me. After yesterday's whopping view total on that video I did, I don't know, folks. So I'm going to be talking about Paul Reubens. So, or is it Paul Rubin or Paul? It's Paul Reubens, right? Pee Wee Herman. So I'm not going to showcase any music content at the beginning here because then the artist, people are going to sort of make that association between the content of the video and the artist. I was going to talk about Quint Starkey, but I'll show off a book instead. I've had this book in the background a few times. The Return of the Gods by Jonathan Cahn. Not Jonathan Cain, Jonathan Cahn. This explains a lot. Even if you're not religious, folks, check this book out. This will blow your mind. It explains some of the crazy that's going on in the world right now. So Paul Reubens passed away at the age of 70. Reports say he had cancer for a number of years and kept it to himself. Okay? All right. We'll just go with that. I don't know why he would lie about that kind of stuff, but it's interesting. My head is exploding. You know, I used to have the duct tape in the studio, and just in case, the throbbing, the brain would start to like just pulsate after reading articles, and I would need to wrap the tape around my head, right? So here's one of the headlines from a classic rock website. And this is why I go off on these tangents, because they're doing culture, right? They're doing classic rock and other things. So apparently Paul Reubens, he's a big deal in the classic rock world. Here's the headline: 30 eclectic Paul Reubens movies and TV roles, or movie and TV roles. Okay. All right, sure. And then they go through them all as if there's nothing else to kind of see here. His beloved character, this is how it begins. Paul Reubens was best known for portraying Pee Wee Herman, a childlike character that he first began developing as an improv actor in the 1970s. Herman was beloved, appearing in numerous films and TV shows. But even Reubens himself, who died at the age of 70, couldn't totally explain what made him so entertaining or creepy. Honestly, most questions that are asked about me, I don't have a clue on. He admitted to Interview magazine back in 2009, "I've always been very careful not to dissect it too much for myself." I love when other people do, but it takes some of the fun out of the work. When I have to start figuring out how Pee Wee Herman ticks. Oh, I can tell you how Pee Wee Herman ticks. So, it's mostly, hey, Paul Reubens died, this iconic figure in our culture, amazing, very eclectic, all these different roles he had. It's pretty impressive, right? Okay, well, let's go back to 1991, shall we? While well known for his iconic role as Pee Wee Herman, he's also remembered for several sex scandals. In case you forgot about that. See, in today's culture, if you talk about, child endangerment and child abuse and people abducting kids, you're some kind of a conspiracy theorist, because this doesn't really happen. And we don't have any sort of appetite in this country for child porn. None whatsoever. Only a 5,000% increase from like 5 years ago, according to this amazing movie that everybody should go see called The Sound of Freedom, which is being trashed by many critics because it's some kind of a dog whistle for QAnon people, right? By the way, QAnon is ridiculous. I just want to put it out there. QAnon is ridiculous, and I trust a Ouija board or some tarot cards above whatever QAnon is talking about. So just want to make that clear where I stand there. Here's the headline and then the article. Paul Reubens' Pee Wee Herman fame often overshadowed by sex scandals. All right. So we go back to 1991. All right. Including his infamous arrest for indecent exposure at a Florida porn house, as well as allegations in a child pornography case. But yet we're going to just talk about his 30 eclectic movie and TV roles. According to the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office in 1991, detectives went to the Triple X South Trails Cinema to observe the audience for a triple bill of Catalina 5-0, Tiger Shark, Nurse Nancy, and Turn Up the Heat. The officers hauled in 3 men, including Reubens, on charges of violating Florida State Statute 800.03. That is exposure of a certain organ. And he does this, obviously, in the movie theater during the movie. Paul Reubens is then booked and shown in an infamous 1991 mugshot photograph. The star allegedly offered to perform a children's benefit for the sheriff's office if the charges were dropped. So he's trying to bribe the cops. Hey, I'm Pee-wee. Hey, I can do a benefit show for free. Bring all the kids in. Yeah, apparently the sheriff's office said no. At the time, the deputies did not feel that they had quite enough probable cause to charge him with attempted bribery. Because that's what it sounds like. In 2004, which is like 13 years later, because at that point, people have short memories, and for the most part, Americans are somewhat forgiving, but Americans don't forget. People don't forget about something like this. He says in this interview with NBC News, well, obviously I wasn't thinking. Let me try that again. Well, obviously I wasn't thinking, Reubens, whose character was featured in various iterations, including the Pee Wee Herman Show, Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and Pee Wee's Playhouse, is just an iconic character that children loved. He goes, though, I certainly wasn't thinking to myself, you're a children's host. Your show is still on television. I wasn't making those lists. No? You didn't think there was any kind of connection to what you were doing and what your supposed role was? I felt like they were insinuating, I was sitting in, a darkened movie theater in my Pee-wee suit. That didn't seem like a crime to me. It didn't seem like anyone's business but my own. Except when you broke that little statute there, that Florida law that prohibits you doing what you were doing in the movie theater with that organ that they mentioned here that I really have reservations about discussing here. Reubens was best known for his iconic role, they go on here again, of Pee Wee Herman, yada yada. Paul Reubens passed away at the age of 70. In the wake of his arrest, this was back in 1991, CBS announced that it was pulling reruns of Pee Wee's Playhouse, and Disney MGM Studios, shocker, in Florida actually suspended a tape of Pee Wee's voice from its studio tour narration. I wonder if they'll bring it back. I think they might bring it back because, Disney, they've come a long way since 1991, and I'm pretty sure they want to embrace the memory of Paul Reubens. Maybe even do it like a whole Paul Reubens ride theme park. Maybe they'll do a Paul Reubens Pee Wee Playhouse theme park. Back in those days, those Toys R Us also removed Pee Wee toys from their stores. And a move that now may seem ironic, Bill Cosby was among the celebrities who defended Reubens at the time. Oh, you can't make this stuff up. So Bill Cosby was defending Paul Reubens. Whatever Reubens has done, this is being blown all out of proportion. Oh gosh. This is writing itself here. This is comedy that's writing itself. Cyndi Lauper, who voiced the Pee-wee's Playhouse theme song, also said that it was a victimless occurrence. It was kind of like a mortifying situation where I felt like, people are laughing at me, Reubens told NBC News. Let me try that again. It was kind of like a mortifying kind of situation where I felt like, people are laughing at me, Reubens told NBC News. I'm a professional comedian. I've never claimed to be able to take it as good as I dish it out, ever. I mean, I'm just sensitive. He's sensitive, all right. Oh, wow. So Reubens apparently told Vanity Fair that following the arrest, while he never contemplated anything like suicide, I could see how one could. All right. Well, he's there trying to make people feel sorry for himself. On November, it keeps going, November 16th, 2001, police searched Reubens' home in the Hollywood Hills. They seized boxes of materials that his spokesperson characterized as vintage erotica. It was kind of like a mortifying kind of situation. Again, he's going on about people laughing at him. Blair Burke, Reubens' lawyer, said the charges were untrue and without merit. And Reubens' publicist, Kelly Bush, said the handful of images came from more than, 10,000 vintage magazines seized from the actor's home. 10,000 vintage magazines, some of which were 3 decades old. Okay, so that makes it okay because they were 3 decades old. The charges were dropped in 2004 when he pleaded guilty to a lesser obscenity charge. So he pled guilty and the charges were dropped. So he was guilty. At the same time, his friend Jeffrey Jones, who was in the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, was charged with possession of child porn and a felony count of employing a minor for purposes of taking explicit photos. Man, the charges against the actors came from an investigation that police said began a year prior to the arrests with accusations from a 17-year-old boy. All right. He goes on, Paul Reubens. The moment that I realized my name was going to be said in the same sentence as children and sex, that's really intense. That's something I knew from that very moment. Whatever happens past that point, something's out there in the air, and that is really bad. Yeah, that's really bad. So it goes on. It goes on and on. He's all like very defensive. Like, oh, well, victimless crime, nothing to see here. So the guy who's entertaining children is into kiddie porn. That's what this is. And then people recognize that and looked at the guy and said, yeah, that makes sense. People just put, oh, it's just a persona, Dave. Didn't you read the article about the 30 eclectic Paul Reubens movie and TV roles? Aren't we all supposed to celebrate this iconic character? No. No. Why do we need to celebrate it? And look, I hope he got his life together in the last few years. If he really did have cancer, maybe that made him think about his past and some of the choices that he made. It's one thing to, do certain things wrong, but if you do it in public, out in the open, and then you've got friends who are also getting arrested for things that are very similar, is it guilt by association? Yup. Is it warranted? Yes. Will people's perceptions of you change? Yes, and they should. Was he remorseful or sorry? I don't know. I've read a lot of stuff here like it's a victimless crime. This is the new normal now when it comes to the kids stuff. This is the new normal. Hey, I'm attracted to this group of people. These younger, there's even a name for it now. It's called minor attracted person. MAP. You're a MAP. Anyway, folks, it just shows you that there are really two things going on right now. There are the people that are reacting normally and looking at this going, yeah, that guy, yeah, I remember all of that stuff. And that was really bad. And he was ostracized and he was shunned. as he should have been. And not once, but twice. And maybe they were out to get him. Looks like they were out to get him because they knew they must have had all kinds of stuff on this guy and said, this is Paul Reubens. Do we do this? And then they decided to do it. And then they did it again, to kind of probably back up the first time. And then he's like, yeah, I'll perform for you guys if you drop the charges. Wow. I didn't know that part. It's just, well, just forget the whole thing, and you're gonna let this guy perform in front of kids. See, parents who have children, their radar goes off. It's like, nope, sorry, this guy's going nowhere near my kids, which is what society should be doing. But instead, again, you get the library thing going on and the story hour. And I'm looking at these parents going, what are you doing? Why would you do this? Why? Because you want to look like you're so enlightened to today's amazing culture. You want to expose, hate to use that word, but you want to expose your kids to this? Insanity. So Paul Reubens, he was way ahead of his time. Because now this is like the normal stuff going on. Paul Reubens was doing this back in the late 80s and early 90s. So if you want to know why this is happening from a spiritual standpoint, this book is a page turner. It reads like a fiction novel, but it's definitely nonfiction. All right. So The Return of the Gods, Jonathan Cahn. And that's kind of it, folks. The culture continues to unravel. My view counts continue to plummet. Please, subscribe, hit the bell if you want notifications. I'm hearing that people aren't getting notifications on new videos. Patreon, YouTube memberships. All you got to do is hit the join button for YouTube memberships. Very simple. Patreon, there'll be a link in the description where you can sign up for Patreon. I've had a few new patrons, got a new month here, so I'm going to lose a bunch because that happens every month. And so I need some replacements. I need some, people to help me out. That's all I'm asking, because as the views go down, the income continues to struggle and so I wish I had better news on that front. I thought maybe things would start to recover, but this is a platform-wide issue. So if you're a YouTube creator, you know what I'm talking about. I've seen videos where guys, they'll screenshot all their analytics and show you. It's just like it's like the hockey stick in reverse. It's like the Al Gore hockey stick. Yeah, and it's been really hot outside. Somebody should talk about that underwater volcano that happened last year that nobody is talking about. And it may be influencing the weather just a little bit. Just want to throw that out there. Anyway, folks, thank you for watching. And God bless you all. And celebrate the good people in the world that are alive. And those who move on to the next phase, celebrate the good ones. Paul Reubens, I don't know about that one. All right. Just trying to be diplomatic here.